to someone right now.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that. You guys know that I'm a happy person, right? So I only bring good news. I'm bringing you good news.
Yes.
This is God's plan. He knows if I clean this acreage out too soon, something's going to happen. Something is going to begin to develop out there because you aren't living out there yet. So he's going to do it little by little. Let's all say little by little. Is that helping you right now?
Yes.
Is that helping you to realize why didn't God take all my obstacles away in the beginning? Why didn't he solve all my problems? He's doing it in increments because you are growing incrementally. Right? You are developing. You are going forward.
Yes.
And when you do that, then God will clear things away just ahead of us. Because if he does it, this is what happens to the people. This is what will happen to me if God clears it out too far ahead. If he answers my prayer too early.
Right.
Have you ever wondered, why isn't God answering my prayer? If he would just do this. Sometimes we think we know better than God. Have you ever had a good talk with God? Now, Lord, I need to talk. I've got to explain something here. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. So sit down, Lord. Listen, if you did it the way that I'm thinking, all this would happen. And it would be perfect. And everybody would be okay. And God's just snorting. Trying to. I think one of the writers, I can't remember his name, some of you may know, the word chortle. There's a word chortle. I think God does a lot of chortling. You know what a chortle is? It's a chuckle and a snort at the same time. Yeah. That wasn't thunder you heard. That was God. God invented the chortle. Okay, so remember, two things you need to learn. Courage, chortle. Chortle is a new word. When I come back, I want to see that painted. Are you with me, ladies and gents?
Yes. Yes.
So that's what's happening when you wonder, why is so-and-so having a struggle? Because they haven't yet developed. They haven't possessed that land. So some things, listen, you can't leave a vacuum for very long. Right. Something's going to fill it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So God knows exactly what he's doing. Listen, this is really cool. Let's look at Matthew chapter 12. I think in my silly little way, I may be the only one, but I got a feeling, when I look at you, I think you're all pretty silly. I wondered about this verse. Matthew chapter 12. When I'm finished, you're supposed to stop laughing.
I can't. I just think about something, that's all.
Okay. You know you've done well when you can cause someone to start thinking about other things. Matthew chapter, listen, I was reading Exodus. And then I just thought of Matthew chapter 12, Pastor Terry. And I started reading, I thought, this is amazing. I never understood what these verses mean. Maybe you always have. Just humor me, okay? If I'm the only one. But this is Exodus chapter 23. Matthew chapter 12, verse 43. Now, I told you about a dry drunk. Right? Now let's say dry Christian.
Dry Christian.
Okay, we're going to read about a dry Christian. It's the same principle as a dry drunk. This is what's going on. Verse 43. And it's weird. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a person, Jesus said that unclean spirit walks through what kind of places? Dry places. What is he doing? He's seeking rest, and what? He finds none. So the Lord is telling us something very peculiar spiritually. When the Lord delivers us, as he does, for us all, whatever that spirit is that has bound us, it's gone. But it's like the deer that you scare in the woods. I'm pretending I'm 100, but I never shot anything in my life. I lived in the cabin, right? So those guys would go hunting, I'd go with them. One day I decided I'll go myself. I get out a mile into the woods, and I thought, if I shoot anything, I have no idea what to do. So I ran home. But I've been told that if you can tell me this, Pastor Terry. If you scare a deer, is it true that it'll run, but if it doesn't know what scared it, it will kind of make a little... It can sometime. It'll make a big circle, but it will come back sometime to find out what it was that scared it. So, here's now don't get scared. Everybody after me, do this. Okay. So the unclean spirit, he walks through dry places. It's barren. And seeks rest, but finds none. So look at what happens in verse 44. Then he says, I will return unto my house from where I came. And when he comes, what does he find?
Empty.
It's empty and it's garnished, which means it's in order. Isn't this interesting? It's empty, it's swept out, and it's actually in order. Then goes he, I read this, I think, what are we talking about? Then goes he takes with himself 7 other spirits, more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there, and the last state of that person is worse than before. And he said, even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation.
Yes.
Isn't this a peculiar
Yes.
verse? What is he talking about? It's Exodus 23.
Yeah.
So the unclean spirit, God's delivered us.
Right.
Now that spirit leaves, but takes a wide circle. And again, I'm not saying this. Remember, everyone say, Philip is very happy. Yeah, say Philip is probably too happy. So this is not a negative thing. This is just, he's letting us know about life. Those things that we are freed from, that we work through, or delivered from, they leave us. And we're doing fine, but somewhere, at some point, it's going to come to visit us again.
Right.
You got it?
Yeah.
Now, as God said in Exodus, if we haven't possessed the land,
Right.
as in Exodus he said that we need to possess that land. We need to mature and grow into it. But if you haven't done anything to develop and change, when it comes back around, what does he find? It is
Empty.
empty.
Wow.
It's not occupied. You've been delivered. You've been set free, but you're not working to mature in that area, so it's empty.
Right.
And it's swept out.
Yeah.
And it's all in order. This is crazy. You think, well, it's in order. I mean, it sounds good. Yes, it's in order. But there's nobody home. Have you ever met someone like that? The lights are up. You said it. Right? Are you guys hearing what this says? Maybe there's a better explanation, but if there is, don't tell me. Give me at least a day that I can just enjoy thinking I know what I'm talking about, Pastor Terry. Jesus, and we know that Jesus always, a lot of his words were from the wilderness, right? He'd quote from wilderness verses. That's Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
He's comparing the Old Testament to the spiritual happening that's happening to us now. Are you getting this, guys? Mm-hmm. So this is what happens. When people fall into this problem again, it's just simply that they haven't matured. They didn't do anything to grow into that. When I first attended the Pentecostal church and I was listening to the testimonies, there was a guy in there who said, this was his testimony, his name was Brian. He became a friend of mine and his wife, my wife Lisa. His testimony was, I thank God that he delivered me from alcohol and he changed my life. And it was great. Yeah. Well, then they'd have another testimony service, and a couple of weeks later, Brian would get up and he'd say, well, I thank God that God delivered me from alcohol, and he changed my life, and he'd sit down again. A few months later, I thank God that He delivered me. And then about a year later, I started to think, something's not right, Pastor Terry. I could tell in my little naive way that I wasn't hearing any advancement. Are you hearing me, guys? And Brian, down the road, a few years later, didn't do very well. Yeah. Because he hadn't developed, he hadn't matured.
Right.
You see, to go forward.
Yes.
So when these things come back, you may not hardly even notice it. If you've matured in that area, there's not a problem. You know, you could give me a joint right now. I'd only smoke probably half of it. You know what I'm saying? This is good, but I've overcome. Baby steps. No, when you get the victory, these things will come around. You won't have a problem.
That's right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
You hardly even notice it. It's like a little bug hitting your shoulder. What was that? Right? A little temptation, just a little. Ooh, I felt a little. My hair stood up. I wish mine would, but. But you see, if we haven't developed,
Right.
if we haven't matured into what the Lord has done, that temptation whacks us again.
Yeah.
And because we haven't done anything forward in our movement, it's too big.
Right.
And you probably noticed, you know, addiction is a funny thing. If somebody quits that addiction and they start again in 3 years, the interesting thing is they don't start from step one.
Right.
It is the most bizarre thing. It's greater, even though they haven't used for 3 years when they start again.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But we don't want dry drunks. We don't want dry Christians.
Right.
No.
Right? We want to fill up those areas.
Right.
So that's what God, and listen, this is a word to make you feel good. Now don't be smoking weed unless you take the THC out of it. I shouldn't have said that either. No, just don't smoke weed.
It stinks of a skunk anyways.
There you go. It does, yeah. It does. So the Lord is wanting to help us all to realize, I'm with you.
Amen.
I'm with every one of you. And you and He and all of us together are taking one step at a time.
Yes.
And every time we take a step forward, the water parts in front of us. Isn't that amazing?
Praise the
It's like this vacuum there. What you go to try and it just
Keep going.
I can't. Because He continues to work with that little increment ahead of us.
Yes.
He gives us a head start, but He's got to know that you're going there. Are you hearing me, guys? Does this sound okay?
Yes.
Does this give you a little understanding of why people seem to fall by the wayside? But the good news is they don't have to stay on the wayside.
Right.
That's right.
The good news is that this is start fresh all over again.
Right.
A little understanding. And say, you know what? I know I didn't follow the process. I didn't continue in that way that I know I should have gone. And that's causing me problems. So now we make up our mind, I'm going to do that. I'm going to walk it out. The Word of God is going to become my rock. Like David said, when my heart is overwhelmed, he didn't say, pop me an Oxy,
No.
right? Or give me a Dilaudid, or... Too many people are using medications.
You're right.
There's a lot of wine going on out there, guys. And I don't mean W-H-I-N-E. Did I spell that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean W-I-N-E. And again, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about our ability to overcome.
Yeah.
People are using these things to self-medicate.
Right.
But the problem is that once you use, you stop growing.
Yeah.
Once you use an artificial support to help you in anything, you've stopped your forward development.
Right.
Because you've taken a shortcut to make you feel better.